Welcome everybody to the last of our Wednesday workshops that are co-sponsored by William Allen White Library and the Office of Graduate Studies as well. We've been really happy to be able to co-sponsor some of these. What we're going to be doing today is covering a program that's called Zotero. And once you run through Zotero and see how it works, you're going to be able to do a lot of different things. You'll be able to download your citations, save them in collections or folders, go back, organize your research a lot more effectively. You can also save PDFs in what's called the Zotero Cloud so that you don't have to remember to download PDFs or try to save them in other places. And finally, you can also use Zotero to right-click and create bibliographies or references lists in your preferred citation style. So this is what we're going to be covering today. I have a handout that I'm using here in person, but I'll make sure that the Office of Graduate Studies and IT also has a copy of this handout so that you can take a look at that and follow along as well. So we have certain outcomes for this session. Like I said, by the time we finish, hopefully you'll be able to use Zotero more effectively, know how it's used. Another outcome that I have for this session is if you happen to own a smartphone, an iPhone or Android or another type of system, but mainly those two, there are some mobile interfaces to Zotero that are not actually supported by Zotero itself, but they can be used to, again, manage your collections a little bit more effectively, and in many cases, and I'll be demonstrating this as well, with the mobile interfaces to Zotero, you can scan a barcode from the back of a book. If you happen to be like in a brick and mortar bookstore or back in the library's decks, and then that will import that bibliographic information and it'll save it to your Zotero collection as well. It's really neat. There's just a lot of interesting things that you can do with this. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I am currently in the Firefox browser. And the reason that I'm using Firefox for a quick demonstration today is that Zotero is a free program that was originally designed for Firefox. So when Zotero was first designed a number of years ago, it didn't really integrate with any other browsers. That has changed since then. I'll be showing you in just a second too how to download something called Zotero Standalone, and that will integrate with Google Chrome or with Safari. For whatever reason, Zotero does not play well with Internet Explorer. So if you happen to use Internet Explorer or are still using it before it goes away, it won't work with that. So I tend to use it with Google Chrome and also with Firefox. Zotero is totally free. The only time that you would actually have to pay for anything with Zotero would be if you want to increase your storage. If you're familiar with using storage in the cloud, like Google Drive or something like that, Zotero works in very similar fashion. You actually will sign up for a free account. I'm going to have you do that in a little bit once we download Zotero. And your free account will then let you access and save your information across different devices. So the great thing about this is, let's say you have Zotero set up on your laptop or tablet at home. And if you come into the library, like here at William Allen White Library, and you decide, I'd like to do some work, but I left my tablet at home, or I didn't carry my laptop today because I didn't really need it. All you would have to do is sign on to one of the computers here in the library, and it'll work with any other computer as well. Download Zotero very quickly, which takes a matter of seconds. Sign in to the free account that you have created, and you will have access to all of your information. So totally portable. It's not dependent on a particular device or anything like that. And that's another reason that I like Zotero so much. I use it extensively for my own research if I'm writing an article or preparing for a presentation. So again, we're going to kind of walk through the process. The way to get to this is just to go to www.zotero.org, and this is the screen that you'll see. And as you can tell on this screen, this is where you can choose your interface depending upon the browser that you're using. If you are using Zotero for Firefox, all you have to do is just click on Zotero 4.0 for Firefox. You will probably get a prompt to allow this program to be installed on Firefox. Go ahead and say that you're okay with that you will allow that to be installed. And then, after just a few seconds, Firefox will restart And when it restarts, and I know this is going to be really hard to see, but I'm going to kind of point up here as best I can. On Firefox, once you have installed Zotero, you're going to have a little tiny Z on top of your search bar, and that's going to stay there from now on. Now, let's say you don't use Firefox or you don't have it installed. You can do the same thing with Google Chrome. With Google Chrome, you actually have to do a two-step process. The first thing you would do is click on installing Zotero 4.0 for Windows. So once you do that, and again, it's going to take a matter of seconds, you would have your Chrome browser opened in this particular context, and then install Zotero standalone from the Chrome browser, from Google Chrome. Once you would do that in Google Chrome, you would return to this Zotero page, and when I click on this, actually I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. Once I do that, then I would need to click on a Google Chrome extension or a Zotero connector. Like I said, this is a two-step process. You do need to click on the Google Chrome after you've installed the Zotero standalone and install something called a Zotero connector. So like I said, this is a two-step process for Google Chrome. But once you do this, and again, this is totally free, I'm going to go ahead and open up Google Chrome and I'll show you what this would look like. In Google Chrome, unlike Firefox, you are not going to see a little Z up here, but you will see a little icon that might look like a page. And when I hover my mouse over this, it's going to say Save to Zotero. So that's your clue that Zotero has been installed on Google Chrome. The other thing that will happen is that when I minimize this, once you have installed Zotero standalone for Google Chrome, you're going to have a little icon on your desktop that says Zotero standalone. If you want to use Zotero with Google Chrome, all you have to do is just make sure that the Zotero standalone is open. And as long as it's open, then anything you do from this point will be saved to Zotero. So a little bit more, I wouldn't say complicated, but there's a little bit more of a process with Google Chrome, but it does work very well. But like I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this, and I'm going to go back in to Firefox just simply because for the purposes of this demonstration, I think you're going to be able to see everything a lot better. So, like I said, what does Zotero do? And why would I want to use Zotero in the first place? Well, let's pose this question. Let's say that you're doing a lot of research in one of our library research databases, like JSTOR, PsycInfo, basically any other databases that we have for subject-specific resources. And you're finding a lot of really interesting references to articles, to books, to book chapters. You can click on those references in almost any database and you can email those to yourself. Very easy to do. But that also means that you have a lot of emails to keep track of. And I don't know about you, I tend to get overwhelmed by my emails now. I have a lot that I probably need to delete from my home account and also from my work account. So sometimes that can be a little bit difficult to keep track of. And also sometimes I might forget, did I email that citation to myself, or did I think it was good but then I just wound up overlooking it? This is where Zotero is going to help you because it's going to let you download citations from web pages, from databases, from the library catalog, from Amazon, basically anything that's out there. From Wikipedia, if you find a Wikipedia article, you can download the information about that and save it in one place. So what will happen is, whether you're on Google Chrome or Firefox, in Firefox, I'm now going to click on the Z, and way down here at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to scroll this up a little bit more so that you can see that a little bit more effectively. This is actually Zotero running in the background, so it's always going to be running on the background, whether you use Firefox or Google Chrome. Well, what it looks like right now is not very much. It's blank because we really haven't put any information in there as yet. One thing that you can do on the Zotero.org site, and I'm going to go back to this. And I really encourage people to do this. On the Zotero.org site, there's a place that says login or register. If you click on register, this is where you can register for a free account that I just mentioned a few seconds ago. I encourage everybody to do this because that is what you can then actually put in Zotero that will help you save all of your information and then help you take it from one device to another. If you don't have a free account registered, basically you're not going to be able to have that portability. Again, it's sort of like using your Gmail account to sign into Google Drive. It's basically the same concept. Very easy to register. You can set up a username, your email, and by the way, since Zotero is totally free, you don't have to use your g.emporia.edu address. If you want to, you can. But you also might choose to use a separate Gmail address or Yahoo or something that's more of a personal email account that you will always have with you even after you graduate. So that's another reason why you might want to do something like that. Basically, you put in your email, confirm that, set up a password, and you're good to go. It takes just a few seconds. I have an account already set up. So what I am going to do is go back down here. Because at this point, I've not actually signed into my account in Zotero, and I did that on purpose because I wanted to show you what it's like when you kind of start from scratch as a new user. So what I have to do before I do anything else is enter my account information, and then I want to sync my information so that on this screen, I'll be able to see everything that I've done on Zotero so far, and then I can keep downloading my information. So I'm going to click on this little thing here. It's kind of hard to see, but it looks like a little gear. And I'm going to go to Preferences. And now I'm going to click on something called Sync. Let me move that over so you can see that a little bit better. And here under Sync, under Preferences, this is where I'm going to put in my username and my password that I created. And I just have to remember that hopefully I'm using the right password. So once that's in, I'm going to click on a little icon over here that says Sync. And if I put everything in correctly, which hopefully I have, this is now syncing up with the Zotero Cloud or the Zotero server. We're going to kind of let that do its thing. And then once that syncs up, we're going to have some fun downloading some citations. I have been doing a lot, as you can see. What I have over here, and again I'm going to try to move this so you can see that it's not coming across on this screen as well as it should, but basically what you're seeing here are a lot of citations that I have downloaded over the past few months when I've been teaching Zotero. I could delete all these, or I could just sort of leave them as they are, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave them here because I wanted you to be able to see what this looks like. And again, this is kind of spilling over on the left side of the screen. But over here, this is where I created different folders or different collections, depending on the type of research I happen to be doing. And in a second, we'll go back and I'll show you how to create a folder or a collection. Well, we're going to have some fun now, though. We're going to download some citations. Everything that you download from Zotero will go into something that's called My Library, which is what's showing over here. But if I want my citations that I'm going to download now, if I want them in a very specific collection or folder, I create my folder and then I want to make sure that that folder is highlighted so that whatever I download will go in that specific collection or folder and it's not being lost. So to create something, this is not showing up over here, and again, I'm really sorry that it isn't, but there's a little icon over here that says New Collection or New Folder. So I clicked on that, so at least you can see this from here. This is where I would enter a name for a new collection or a new folder. I encourage students when I'm teaching this in class to create different collections or folders that correspond to the research you're doing. So if you have something in a particular class, name it after that research project. And just keep doing that, because then that is one of the best ways of keeping everything separated and organized. So I think I'm going to start a new collection here. And I am going to call this one, I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm actually calling this one Tobacco Use, which sounds kind of odd. Currently on the Emporia State University campus, we are looking at possibly making this a tobacco-free campus, and there's a survey that's been sent to all faculty, staff, and students. So I'm going to say for today, I want to do some research on tobacco use, and I might even try to do that on campuses. So I'm going to call this collection Tobacco Use. And click on OK. And again, I know it's really hard to see here, but it is appearing on the left side of the screen. Since I've not actually put anything in this collection yet, this is totally blank, but we're going to change this in just a second. So now we're going to have some fun with Zotero. If I'm in Firefox, I can close that Zotero screen because it's always going to be running in the background. If I am in Google Chrome, as long as I have that Zotero standalone, the icon on the desktop open, I can just keep that open and then everything will go in there as well. So, like I said, let's go have some fun. Let's go back here to the library's webpage. And on our webpage, we have a lot of different resources. Our discovery search, for example, will search for books and other items that are owned by William Allen White Library. And if we go to databases, and if I click on all subjects, I can choose a subject that corresponds to my discipline or to my research interest, and then I can see which research databases we have in here. I'm interested in health right now because I am still going to do my research on tobacco use. So I am going to go to, let's go to medicine and health. And we have a variety of databases that are available. I think I am going to go into one that's called ProQuest Nursing and Allied Health Source. And this is a really good health-related database to use for medicine and basically anything that might be health-related information or articles. I'm going to go to an advanced search. Whenever I have a choice in a database to go to an advanced search, I always go to that because it will let me narrow and focus my search for information a lot more effectively. So for example, I might say that, and this is kind of over here at this point, I want to search for my words or my terms as they appear in the abstract of an article or the abstract of an item. That's a really good searching tip because that will narrow and focus your search as opposed to something being searched in the full text. So let's do tobacco use. And I'm going to change my second line to abstract. And let's do tobacco use and college students. And if I were teaching this as a database, I would do some more limiting. Let's go to peer-reviewed here for peer-reviewed journals. But let's just go ahead and click on search because I do want to show you what Zotero will do for you. Let that search. I have 84 results, which is not too bad. And, oh, here is a perfect one. Record number 2, electronic cigarette use among college students. We're seeing this more and more on our campus of different students using e-cigarettes and then doing what's called vaping. So we have electronic cigarette use among college students. Links to gender, race, ethnicity, smoking, and heavy drinking. That sounds kind of interesting. When I click on the citation for the article, or the bibliographic record for the article, this is going to give me the title of the article, the title of the journal, and the abstract. And by the way, since I searched within the abstract, my terms that I used are highlighted in here. I like this. I want to make sure I don't lose this. So way up here in the corner with Zotero, there's a little icon that looks like a page. It's supposed to sort of look like a page of a journal article. And we're going to click on this. And way down here, which is really hard to see because it actually went away, that was a reminder that I just saved that bibliographic citation to Zotero. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to click on the Zotero again, the Zotero Z, and there it is. There's the citation. So over here, I've got everything about this. It says it's a journal article. We have the title of the article, the authors, the title of the publication, and the title of the journal, everything here. And there's something else that I absolutely love about Zotero. There's a little tab here that says Notes. I could use that Notes field if I wanted to remind myself why I actually downloaded that citation for the article in the first place, so I can make a few notes to myself. If this is an article, as this one is here, that doesn't have the full text available, I could say, remember to get this on interlibrary loan, something like that. Really handy to be able to do as a researcher to kind of give yourself a reminder about the article. So let's close this and go back to our search. Let's go back to our results. So the next thing I want to do is see if I can find, record number 1 has this. We'll probably look at record number 3. Before we do this, I'm going to go back here to Zotero though, and I want to show you something that I do have in the handout that I will send so that you all who are not here can actually see this. I mentioned a few minutes ago that Zotero will actually let you download the PDFs of articles into the Zotero cloud so that you always have access to them when you are using Zotero and you don't actually have to be logged into a database. There's a little trick to this. I'm going to show you this. So the trick is, before I do anything else and after I've installed Zotero, I have to go back to the little gear icon. For lack of a better word, I call it a gear. And I'm going to go back over here to Preferences. And this time I'm going to click on Search. And when I click on the search icon here, it's telling me that actually the software that I need for PDF indexing, it's not installed. That doesn't happen automatically when you download Zotero. So I need to check for the installer and let that do its thing. And now I can click on OK. And the reason I needed to do that is record number 3, the impact of trying electronic cigarettes on cigarette smoking by college students. That sounds very interesting. I'm going to click on this one again. And I want to click on the little icon up here to save this article, to save the reference to this article to Zotero. So now when I click on the Z again for Zotero, see what happened here? I installed that PDF indexer, and as a result, it pulled in the full text of the PDF. So when I clicked on this, bingo. There's the PDF of the article that is actually living now in the Zotero cloud. So I'm always going to have access to this, and I don't have to log back into the database or try to remember if I emailed this to myself or I saved it somewhere else. So this is one really great feature about Zotero. And I just like to sort of see what I can download and what I can find. And I'm going to close this again, and we're going to go back to the library's homepage. Zotero interfaces pretty well with just about all the databases that we have. But let's say that I want to find something else. So I am going to go to Google. And some of you may use Google Scholar to find abstracts of articles as well. Zotero will actually work really well with Google Scholar. But I'm going to do tobacco use and college students. I just want to see maybe if there are some websites or maybe some things that are out there. Now it looks like, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so it shows up a lot better. And I can see it better too. it looks like there are some different websites, and there's even a Wikipedia article that talks about cigarette smoking among college students. Wikipedia is not always the best or most reliable source of information, but it can be a resource, maybe to find other citations or other references. Now here's something that's kind of interesting here. This is from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And this is talking about current cigarette smoking among adults in the United States. So I'm getting some good statistical information about age, race, ethnicity, education, poverty status. So that's some good statistical information. I don't want to lose that. Let's click on our little icon once more that's still going to look like a little page. And when I go to Zotero again, this is actually pulled in the information about that website, the Smoking and Tobacco Use Fact Sheet. And over here I still have the information about this, plus the URL. So I have that saved as well, so I can always go back and remember how to get back to that website. And finally, let's go to Amazon. I think this is great because it's also interfaces really well with Amazon. So I'm just going to do, let's do here, electronic cigarettes. Of course, it's going to show me to buy electronic cigarettes, but I'm just curious if there are any books that might pop up. Okay, now, not quite sure how reliable this is going to be. It looks like this is a book by somebody named Shane Alexander, Electronic Cigarettes, My Research Findings and Switch, What's Good and What's Not. I'm not quite sure about that. But if I click on the information about this from Amazon, from the Amazon page, it's kind of hard to see here, but this icon actually changed way up here on the top of this screen to a book. So if you're in the library catalog or on Amazon, where you're actually pulling in information about a book, that icon will look like a book. It does tend to change it. So we'll click on this. Click on, and you don't have to keep clicking on Zotero every time. I'm just sort of doing this for the purposes of our video. But there's the information that I pulled in about the book and all that bibliographic information. And the other neat thing you could do with Zotero, which I like to show people, let's go to YouTube. You might have a good YouTube video about something. So let's do tobacco use and college students. Let's just see if there happens to be a video. Well, it looks like there are actually quite a few videos that would be about that. Some of them are going to be a little bit more reliable, a little bit more credible than others, as we see. But if there's anything here, now here's one, that, for example, that's called Tobacco Use Prevention Initiatives at Historically Black Colleges and Universities. I'm going to stop that because I'm not going to play that right now. But again, if I click on my little icon up here and click on Z for Zotero, there's the information about that YouTube video, again, plus the URL. So I've got everything that I need for basically citing this. So we've downloaded some different things now. Now we're going to have some fun with Zotero because I'm ready to create a bibliography. I want to create a working bibliography using everything that I've done so far. And this is probably one of the best features about Zotero. I am holding down the Control key on my keyboard now, and I'm going to click on all of those citations. And I could actually pick and choose. I wouldn't have to do all of these. But what I want to do now is right-click with my mouse, and I'm going to do something that's called Create a Bibliography from the Items. This is probably my favorite part. I am old enough and I'm of the generation that used to create all of our citations from scratch, so I get really excited about stuff like this. I just think it's a miracle. The great thing about Zotero is that it does support a variety of citation styles. So if I were using the American Psychological Association, I could choose that for the 6th edition. Some of you in your disciplines might use the Chicago Manual of Style. You can choose the Chicago Manual of Style, and depending upon what you've been advised to use, sometimes you have to use author date or full note. You can choose on what you would use as well. For other humanities, we use the Modern Language Association, MLA. I'm going to do MLA for today. So I want to say that my output is a bibliography, and I actually want to save this file as an RTF document. If that doesn't sound familiar to you, RTF stands for Rich Text File, and an RTF document is compatible with a variety of word processing programs. So I can open this in Microsoft Word, for example. So I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to save this in the desktop right now just so I'll be able to find it, but you can save that in your documents or a flash drive, whatever you would want to do. And we're going to call this Tobacco Use Working Bib. So let's see what this is going to look like. I'm going to minimize this. And down here on my desktop, here is my Tobacco Use Working Bib. And I want to open this in Microsoft Word. I just think this is fantastic. I'm going to zoom this in so that you all can see it a little bit better. This is a miracle as far as I'm concerned because it took all my citations and it alphabetized them automatically. I didn't even have to do anything with that. And I wound up choosing MLA, the Modern Language Association, so it put it into hopefully the proper MLA format. Now, the only thing that I have to warn you about is it doesn't matter if you're doing MLA or APA or Chicago or anything else. There may be some errors in your bibliography because if there were some mistakes in what we would call metadata, and the metadata is actually the bibliographic records that were pulled over from the database or from a web page. If there are some errors in there, they won't be corrected. Most of the time this is pretty good, but sometimes you do have to go back. If any of you are using APA style, sometimes I have to do some corrections with capitalization and so forth. So you do want to proofread this very carefully. But that's not a bad start. And it's much easier to edit something from here than to try to start from scratch. So this is what I like about Zotero. And I'm going to minimize this, and we'll come back to that document in just a second and go back in here and close this. That is a lot of what you can do with Zotero. There is actually two. If I go back over here to the Zotero page and click on Home, I'm now going to go to, let me close that, don't want that there. There is a way that you can integrate Zotero with Microsoft Word so that if you're typing a paper in Microsoft Word and you've downloaded your citations into Zotero, you can pull in your internal citations and integrate that with Zotero. So that's another really good possibility. I'm not going to try to get too much into that now because that's actually good for another session. But on your handout, and then I'll go ahead and type this on here as well, on the back side, where it says downloading and installing Zotero word processor plugins, we're going to go to www.zotero.org/support/word_processor _plugin. And you could actually just search support too for Microsoft Word and it'll come up as well. _installation. Hopefully I typed everything in. Oh, good. I typed everything in correctly. This would would be an extra plug-in that you can install on your computer or other device that would integrate with Microsoft Word for Windows, and it will also integrate with Mac. And like I said, that's kind of almost another session, but it is a really good way of integrating Microsoft Word with Zotero so that you can plug in your citations, create your bibliography or works cited page, and have that all going at the same time. So there is a lot of things that you can do with Zotero. The other thing I wanted to wind up with is, not everybody, but it seems like almost everybody now has a smartphone. And I have an Android, but a lot of people have iPhones, basically anything like that. I mentioned that there are some mobile interfaces that you can download with Zotero. So if I go back to www.zotero.org/support, and now if I type in mobile, these are not actually supported by Zotero, but they are what are called third-party interfaces or third-party applications. iOS is supported for iPhones or other types of Apple products. There are some Android apps as well. I have one on my Android phone that's called Zandy. And the great thing about this is I mentioned that what you can do with your mobile phone, once you have this installed, let's say you happen to be in the library, or you happen to be in, like I said, a brick and mortar bookstore or anywhere else, and you find a book, and you think, well, that looks really interesting. I'm holding up a graphic novel right now. On the back of the book or on the book checked, it might be a barcode. These interfaces, including what I have with Zandy, would allow me very easily to get into my app that I have installed on my phone for Zandy and use a barcode reader that I would have to install as well. With my barcode reader, all I would have to do is just scan that barcode, and all that information about the book will be put into Zotero. So this is a great way for mobility and for portability. If you're ever interested in this, I'm happy to help people one-on-one, or I'm going to put a plug-in in just a second for some other ways of getting help. This really wraps up not only our workshops, but also what I wanted to show you with Zotero. There's a lot more that you can do with it. I encourage you to download it, play, experiment. If something doesn't work, try something else. I wanted to wind up, because this is the last workshop in our Wednesday workshop series for this spring. We're going to do this again in the fall. All of our workshops are being recorded, and once the recordings are made available, if you could go to emporia.beta.libguides.com/workshops. If you go to that URL, you're going to go to it. You'll will see a research guide, and this is our research guide that we have created, and all of the workshops that we've done. You see, we've done quite a few. As we will get the YouTube video links for that, because these will be available on YouTube, we will put the links in to the recordings here. They will also be available on the ESU Graduate School webpage. But if you want to go back and refresh your memory, if you didn't get to attend or see any of these workshops, please go back, because that's exactly what we want everybody to do. And so there's that last one that we just finished, Introduction to Zotero. And I wanted to wind up by, again, highlighting my name and my email address. Please don't hesitate to email me. If you're here on the Emporia campus and would like to set up a one-on-one personal appointment for Zotero or anything else, that's what I'm here for. If you're a distance education student, we can do a program that's called Zoom, and Zoom will allow me to share my screen with you, and then you can share your screen with me. It's very much like making a Skype call. It's very similar to that. So if you're a distance education student, and if you ever wanted to set up a Zoom appointment with me to see a little bit more about Zotero, don't hesitate to email me, and I'd be happy to set you up with something like that as well. So thank you for coming, thank you for watching the video, and good luck with your research.